Используя собственный генетический материал, человечество воскресило бы своих родителей. Из самих себя родители воскресили бы уже их родителей. И так далее, возвращаясь к первым людям на Земле. Этот процесс может занять несколько тысяч лет, поэтому крайне необходимо начинать немедленно. Ведь все мы умираем. Николай Федоров назвал это общим делом. Он понимал его буквально. Музеи должны прийти на кладбище. Библиотеки стать лабораториями по воскрешению писателей. Армии, фабрики, фермы, больницы и университеты должны работать совместно на общее дело бессмертия. Все производительные силы человечества должны быть направлены на воскрешение каждого человека, когда-либо жившего на Земле. Каждой человеческой личности с ее индивидуальным сознанием.
Можно брать совокупность всех живых организмов без исключения как единую особую область накопления свободной химической энергии, превращения в нее световых излучений Солнца. Эту совокупность он называет живым веществом. Луч, падающий на Землю, всюду встречает ловящий его организм. Все живое – продукт энергии Солнца. Количество всего живого вещества определяется количеством зеленых растений, которые одни обладают способностью перерабатывать лучистую энергию Солнца. Весь зеленый организм приспособлен к исполнению своей космической функции трансформировать солнечный луч. Жизнь в каждом листе, где роятся бесчисленные клеточки плазмы. Свет лепит форму растений. Через бесконечное разнообразие форм в природе Вернадский постигает механизм превращения солнечной энергии в земные организмы, в живое вещество планеты. Космическая сила вызывает давление жизни, которое достигается размножением. Если не будет внешних препятствий, всякий организм может размножением покрыть весь земной шар. Но на Земле существует динамическое равновесие. Вещество, охваченное жизнью, вечно, постоянно, ежесекундно создается и разрушается. Однако количество живого вещества на Земле постоянно. Все учитывается и все приспосабливается с той же точностью, с той же механичностью и с тем же подчинением, мере и гармонии, какую мы видим в стройных движениях небесных светил и начинаем видеть в системах атомов вещества и атомов энергии, запишет Вернадский в своей книге «Биосфера». Биосферой Вернадский называет пронизанную жизнью оболочку Земли, где все взаимозависимо, взаимосвязано. Вернадский открывает закон организованности биосферы, где каждая ее часть тесно переплетена с другой. Малейшее грубое вмешательство может вызвать катастрофу. На этом законе основаны все современные работы по охране окружающей среды. Раздумывая над эволюцией, Вернадский приходит к мысли о человеке как новой геологической силе, меняющей лик нашей планеты. Взрыв научной мысли в 20 веке, пишет он, подготовлен всем прошлым биосферы и имеет глубочайшие корни в ее строении. Он не может остановиться и пойти назад. Социальная жизнь человека резко вторгается в естественные процессы. Человек все больше окружает себя искусственной средой. В 20 веке, впервые в истории Земли, человек узнал и охватил всю биосферу, расселился по всей поверхности планеты. В будущем нам рисуется, как возможные сказочные мечтания, человек стремится выйти из предела своей планеты в космическое пространство. И, вероятно, выйдет, пишет Вернадский.
I think it's kind of like asking someone in 1900, will it be possible to put someone on the moon? Well, a lot of people said, well, no, that's just science fiction. But why should we give up just because our body quits at some point? Why don't we get to choose that? I absolutely do believe that we're going to beat death. I think increasingly we're going to start realizing that this body is not sacred. The way we are is not some kind of God-given plan. It's really a pure random accident. We take two sets of genes and we shuffle them and something comes out. Sometimes it's a wonderful product, sometimes it has a hole in the heart, sometimes it has psychosis or tendencies towards extreme anger, has addictive problems, can't concentrate, all kinds of defects. To say, oh, that's normal, that's sacred, that's good, to me is rather absurd. It's random. There's not a plan there that we're thwarting. So genetic engineering seems to me one of the most moral things we can do.
In the future, we will be able to sculpt our bodies like living sculpture. Our bodies could be beautiful electronic designs that shimmer prismatically in the light, in the morning light. It could change forms. It could become a piece of marble on one hand and then totally mutate into some fluid type of luminescent, snake-like quality. After all, the body is an extension of fashion.
Post-human, I think, will be post-biological. By that I mean that it'll be a gradual process. There won't be any sudden transition to a different form. I think we'll gradually integrate more and more technology into our bodies. We'll be replacing our organs with more efficient organs. We'll gradually replace this neural tissue because it dies off after a while. It's easily subjected to chemical damage. So eventually I think we'll replace our brain cells with essentially computerized parts. It'll be much more efficient, much more powerful.
Non-biological intelligence is growing exponentially. Biological intelligence isn't really growing at all. Or if it's growing at such a slow rate that it's not noticeable. Which is why non-biological intelligence ultimately will become dominant.
There won't be a clear distinction between humans and machines.
Our computers are not going to be these rectangular devices we put in our pocket. They're going to be inside our bodies and brains, and we're going to be a hybrid of biological and non-biological intelligence. We are building devices now that are at the nanoscale.
This is a design of a robotic red blood cell. Conservative analysis of these restorocytes shows that if you were to replace a portion of your red blood cells with these robotic versions, you could do an Olympic sprint for 15 minutes without taking a breath, or sit at the bottom of your pool for 4 hours.
We'll be able to download software against specific pathogens, including ones that have never been seen before, not be subject to autoimmune disorders. And if you look at what will be in principle feasible with nanotechnology, we can go far beyond the limitations of our version 1 bodies.
By the 2030s, AIs will be millions of times more intelligent than humans. So we're talking about a vast level of intelligence. So they could be assigned to create a person. For argument's sake, let's say it's a virtual person existing in virtual reality that is a very close replica of an actual person based on the information we have about that person. My work on this project right now is, in fact, to maintain and gather as much information as possible about my father so these future AIs will have something to work with.
He was a pack rat like I am, and I have 50 boxes of his documents, all his letters.
And I have my own memories, which are fading, but this future AI can go inside my brain and pull out those memories that even I have difficulty accessing.
He's a great genius, but he also has another talent, his ability to swallow pills. He just unfazed by it, what most people just find so yucky. He's okay with it,
What are you doing?
Well, mostly I'm reprogramming my biochemistry with lots of supplements. I take about 200 pills a day, actually.
I build companies and I support people who are building new things, from social networks to rocket ships.
You might know him as the multi-billionaire who co-founded PayPal and Palantir, as Facebook's first outside investor, the guy who funds out their projects like floating countries, private space travel, and the quest for immortality. Peter Thiel rejects the idea that death is inevitable. He wants to transform humanity.
Transhumanism was this radical transformation where your human natural body gets transformed into an immortal body. We want you to be able to change your heart and change your mind and change your whole body.
Like at some point, the cybernetic implants would not simply be correcting things that went wrong, but augmenting human capabilities dramatically, augmenting intelligence and senses and bandwidth dramatically, and that's going to happen at some point.
So over time, I think we'll probably see a closer merger of biological intelligence and digital intelligence. And it's mostly about the bandwidth, the speed of the connection between your brain and your the digital extension of yourself. So some high bandwidth interface to the brain, I think, will be something that helps achieve a symbiosis between human and machine intelligence.
So with each launch, especially in the early days of Starship, each launch is about learning more and more about what's needed to make life multiplanetary and to improve Starship to the point where it can be taking ultimately hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people to Mars. Ideally, we can take anyone who wants to go to Mars, we can take to Mars. And bring all of the equipment necessary to make Mars self-sustaining, and then we go beyond Mars ultimately to maybe the asteroid belt, the moons of Jupiter, and beyond, and ultimately to other star systems.
And we're going to take Doge to Mars.
I would love to see, a trillion humans living in the solar system. If we had 1 trillion humans, we would have, at any given time, 1,000 Mozarts and 1,000 Einsteins. That would, our solar system would be full of life and intelligence and energy. And we can easily support a civilization that large with all of the resources in the solar system.
So what do you think that looks like? Giant space stations?
Yeah, the only way to get to that vision is with giant space stations. The planetary surfaces are just way too small.
reactor chamber pressure is nominal.